Well, hello. I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Teresa. Welcome to Have Janet. Now, you might be wondering, Janet, don't you come on a little bit earlier in the evening? I said, yeah, usually. But of course, I'm pushing my show now to Father Frank's slot while he is still recuperating from his open heart surgery, as you know, that occurred on May the 11th. And he's really doing well. They say it's a 6 to 8 week total, recuperation and get back to your 100% yourself. But he's anxious, to get back as soon as he can. And I promise you, he will be back as soon as the doctors clear him to resume his very active schedule. Well, talking about active schedules, there's someone who's going to be on this show right now with me who has an extremely active schedule, like I do, like Father Frank. And, you know, during this whole pandemic, boy, we all got our wings clipped. And we've been doing conferences and talks via Zoom. But you know what? The masks are coming off, and it's time to get back on the road. So joining me today is a very, very dear friend of mine. In fact, we call each other sisters, not just sisters in Christ, but we both adopted each other as sisters, kind of. She is a famous EWTN personality. She co-hosts the Catholic View for Women with me. She's also an amazing radio host of her own show called The Catholic Connection. She is a media consultant, but she also is a consultant on traveling to Italy. So I want to welcome you to the program, Teresa Tomeo, my sister. How you doing?
Ciao, sisters. Ciao, Sorella. I'm so excited to see you and all of your followers. And JM, you know that I'm speaking of traveling to Italy. My wings are back on. God willing, I'm heading out of town tomorrow. Woohoo!
Right. And I know, that's what everyone's kind of been waiting for. And I think you're going over there with our dear friend, John Hale from Corporate Travel. And brothers and sisters, Corporate Travel is an amazing travel agency. They arrange all kinds of pilgrimages for so many dioceses, for Priests for Life and other groups. And so Teresa is going tomorrow with John over to Rome, and they're going to travel around Italy because they're going to get the scoop for us. What's it like if we plan a vacation over to Italy, right, Teresa? I mean, that's really the purpose of this trip, right?
Right, it really is. I would call it a travel recognizance mission, because now that we have all these flights opening up, and we should explain that in addition, as you said, Janet, to my show and my books and my speaking, the year before COVID hit, I began my own consulting ministry called Tease Italy, TravelItalyExpert.com, which we're going to talk about. And it was going gangbusters, where people will email me, they let me know where they're going, and then I do a full hour consultation with them for a certain fee, and then we send them a whole bunch of great information, best places to stay, play, pray, and eat and dine and shop and all of that. And it was going gangbusters, but then COVID hit and all of that changed. But now that things are opening up, because I'm hosting several pilgrimages later this year, one for couples and one for women, and another one coming up in March, I really felt it was my responsibility to go ahead as soon as things opened up to kind of get a sense where we're at. What is it like to travel overseas? What kind of forms do we have to fill out? What about those negative PCR tests? What about vaccination? What are you going to face when you land? And what's open and how is it going to operate? So I wanted to get a lay of the land, and we're going to be doing the show live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week from various locations around Rome and Italy. So we're going to be sharing a lot of really important information. Even if you're not planning a pilgrimage this year, you might want to think about it next year, because it's opening up again, and Italy is one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Well, and in addition to pilgrimages, of course, Teresa, Tease Italy is, like you're just saying, where someone who's watching right now said, you know what? I think, next year my husband and I are celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary. We'd like to go to Rome. Well, the Tease Italy consulting is what you could do for them, right? You could hold their hand and tell them where, some people, like within a week, they'll say, well, how much can I see in a week? Well, it depends on how much you want to wear yourself out.
Right.
And if you're going to go to Assisi and you're going to go here and you're going to go there. So when we say consulting, you can really help them understand, okay, how much you want to do in one day and what's your stamina like about walking around. Because we both know, boy, oh boy, going in and out of those churches and museums, you can get pretty tired, right?
Right. And people often, because there's so much to see and do, they're not taking in, if they've ever traveled overseas before, they're not taking in, first of all, that flight and the jet lag. So you have to just basically wipe out 2 days on your trip. add an extra 2 days just to cover for the travel. And that's one reason why I really felt very strongly about starting this ministry, because I was getting so many emails from listeners who knew that I've been to Italy over 50 times, and that I travel there not only for pilgrimages, but for personal reasons, because Dominic and I are both 100% Italian, and we've rediscovered our family roots and been to all of our towns and all of that. But I really wanted people to understand that if you're going to make the most of it, you really have to slow down and give yourself enough time, because it's such a beautiful experience. And even if you're doing your own private pilgrimage, you're not going to enjoy it if you try to get everything done in 1 week. So I walk people through. They fill out an itinerary form on travelitalyexpert.com, what they want to see, where they want to go, if they've been there before, how much time they have, what's their budget, do they want a hotel, do they want a B&B, what do they want, Airbnb or something. And then we set up an appointment, and I do a Zoom call, and they get the Zoom call. And if they like, they can also, for just a little bit more, right now everything is pretty much self-contained, but we also have a very special printed or link that we'll give them, PDF and a Word document that has tons of resources, all my ins and outs, my favorite restaurants, where to shop, my favorite churches, off the beaten path. I even have hotels, and all the hotels I recommend, since I've been to Italy over 50 times, I've stayed at the hotels I recommend. So it's really quite comprehensive. And some people think, well, do I want to pay something extra before I go? Well, if you go consult with a travel agent and you don't book with them, the travel agent is going to charge you a certain amount of money, usually about $300 just to consult with them if you don't book anything with them, because they have to cover their time. And if you do book with them, that's already going to be covered in your cost. So what I do is it's a separate fee, but you get the Zoom call, you get this document, you get all this information that you can refer to. And it's so helpful. I've got a lot of really good reviews. And for me, it's a labor of love, because I want people to have a beautiful spiritual as well as, fun experience. In addition to praying at, St. John Paul II's tomb, or going to see St. Peter's tomb, under the basilica, I want people to enjoy it and relax and just take in life in Italy.
Well, and I know you made an adorable video to kind of introduce everybody to Tease Italy. So let's take a look at that video now.
Welcome to another edition of Tease Italy. Now, the whole idea of this website is to help you navigate the beautiful country of Italy, and certainly there are countless things to see and to do, from the art to the churches to the countryside to the piazzas to the many places you can go and experience this glorious land. But one thing you really need to put on your bucket list when you come here to Italy is what the Italians call the art of doing niente, or nothing. Here's a kind of a fun play on an American phrase. Don't just do something, sit there. And you really need to think about doing just that, nothing, or sitting there when you come to Italy, and here's why. Look around right now. We are in Trastevere, the beautiful old area of Rome along the Tiber River, which is where the name comes from. We're in our little apartment on our terrace, and we've actually really come to really appreciate the art of doing nothing. What we do often is come out here in the morning and have our cappuccino with a little piece of toast, or a croissant, or cornetti, as they say here in Italy. Or in the evening, we'll have a glass of wine and just sit and talk about the day and slow down. You'll also notice when you're walking through, even in the busy streets of Rome or Venice or Florence, you'll notice people of all ages, not just the older folks who are retired, but you'll notice people of all ages taking their time eating their meal, and even after they're done with their delicious pasta or pizza, just sitting and talking and really doing nothing. But that really is doing something, because you're soaking in the beauty and you're enjoying life. Even on this little balcony and this little courtyard in Trastevere, just look at its beauty. Look at the terracotta roofs. Look at the plants. Look at the charm of the laundry hanging out on the terrace there. Look at the colors of the building. And you get the feel of being in a beautiful foreign land that really knows how to enjoy life. So my advice, when you come to Italy, lots to do, but you also need to do niente, nothing. We'll see you next time.
Well, Teresa, the funny thing, when I see that, it reminds me, first of all, that's our apartment there, the balcony, Priest for Life. We have an apartment over in Rome. But the other thing is what you just said. I think the biggest problem Americans have when they sit down in an Italian restaurant, they're like waiting, like quick, quick, where's the menu?
Where's the
Quick,
bill?
quick, where's
Right.
the service? In Italy, everything is like, let's relax, relax. You might be sitting there for a few minutes before they even come over to give you, they'll ask you if you want, for example, water, with the Sanza gas or with the gas, which means you want still water or
Or
you want
sparkling.
sparkling.
Right.
And ice, forget it. Niente, never ice. They never bring you ice. You have to almost beg for ice. It's like they're anti-ice over there. Here in America, we get tons of ice in our drinks, and everything is giant size. Over there, it's like a normal glass like this, and you pour your water. And then he might come back after a bit. He's given you the menu, and then he'll ask you what you want to order. He's expecting you to tell him like the appetizer or what kind of wine do you want. And don't you find, Teresa, too, this is something I think a lot of Americans don't realize is in most of these really nice restaurants, their house wine is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I mean, the Vino Bianco and the Vino Rosso, the white and the red wine of the house, very, very good. Of course, most restaurants will normally start you, and it's included, they'll start you with a Prosecco, which of course is Italian sparkling wine. You and I love our Prosecco. The other thing that the Italians do is, and I talk about this on the website, is they also have a time for the aperitif, usually about 6 or 7 o'clock. People will go to a local wine bar or one of our favorite rooftop bars, right, JM, on top of the American Hotel and the American Bar. It's
Right.
just the Forum Hotel. It's just a beautiful way. And what they'll bring you, and it's included in your drink price, they bring you all these appetizers, olives and cheese and breads and potato chips. The first time Dominic and I experienced this was up in northern Italy, the Ligurian coast, and we thought it was an appetizer. And they said, oh, no, it comes with the drinks. And then once you start going to Italy, you realize you really get so much bang for the buck over there. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg to really have a beautiful pilgrimage experience. So the biggest thing I tell people is give yourself enough time. And that video, I think, is one of my favorites. First of all, because of all the memories you and I have shared in that apartment. It's just so quaint in the most beautiful section of Rome, Trastevere. But also because this whole idea of the sweetness, dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing or the art of doing nothing, you have to experience that in Italy. Otherwise, you're not experiencing Italy. And that's what I try to get people to see and understand.
Right. I know. And, when you think about restaurants too, and you and I know this quite well, that especially when you're in St. Peter's Square there, and then there's all these restaurants kind of like right immediately, and some of them are this cafeteria style, as you
And
know.
they're handing the menus, right.
Or if there's someone out front of the restaurant handing a menu, don't go there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's
and
in the book.
that's a great point. And that's one of the tips that I give in my consultations, because it can be so overwhelming. People think, I'm just going to go online and start researching Italy. Excuse me, I've been doing this, traveling to Italy for over 20 years. And when I plan my own personal trips for me and Deacon Dom, I spend hours and hours and hours of my own time checking out the hotel, looking at the reviews, looking at all these different things that they're saying. Where am I going to be? Can we get the car? Where are we going to go? Where do we park? All these little inside tips that people would not think about. I go ahead and I do that, but it still takes me hours. So I'm going to do all that work for you at Tease Italy.
That's great. That's great. So now this mission you're on tomorrow, I mean, some people might be scratching their heads and wondering, like, okay, Teresa, like you're actually going to get on a plane and fly. First of all, you're going to have to go from Detroit to JFK
right.
to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
What kind? Because everyone's hearing all kinds of stories.
Right.
What actually did you have to do to meet the Delta requirements to board a plane tomorrow?
Okay, so I have in front of me, and you can't really read it. I'm not going to hold it because the white will flash, but just to kind of give you an idea. If you can't read it, but up here it says Northwest Labs. This is my PCR test. What they're doing now, and this could change because, the most thing that's constant with this whole COVID situation has been changed. But what they're requiring now, if you want to go to Italy, for example, and other countries are also open to this as well, but American Airlines, Delta, United have a number of what they call COVID-free flights, which means if you take your PCR test and you get your lab results and it has a negative COVID test, which I received yesterday, then you can use this. You go to the airport, you check in, you can book the flight, and you can come into Italy without quarantine. Now, there's still other steps you have to take. When we're making a connection from Metro Detroit to JFK. So once we land in JFK, we'll have to take another test, the instant rapid test, before we get on the plane, and then another test when we land in Fiumicino in Rome. But this negative test is the most important thing next to your passport. And it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or if you're not vaccinated, because you could, even though the vaccine does give you a little bit more protection, it doesn't mean you still can't get COVID. So this is what they're not even asking for a vaccination card. They want to see a negative PCR test. So that's step number one. The next step right now is you still have to go and get another test at both ends of the international trip.
Right. So now, T, you said you're leaving tomorrow. You're flying first Detroit, JFK, but aren't the same day you're going to fly to Rome? So yes. Where do you get this rapid test? At the airport?
Right there in the airport. They have it all set up, and they direct you. And Joan Lewis from EWTN, who was visiting family here in Chicago recently in the Midwest, she told me that they have everything set up, and they have little booths, and everything is very organized, and they move you over, and you have to pay ahead of time. They have the whole system. They go and they swab you, and they do this instant result before you can walk out into customs. So yeah, it's very organized.
Wow. And now when you land in Fiumicino, you're going to get another rapid test?
Correct. So I have the PCR test within 72 hours. That's Delta's requirement. Other airlines may say 48. Delta is 72. So within 72 hours of your flight, you have to get the results. You take that from Detroit to JFK, right, to get on because it's an international connection. And once we get to JFK, we get off that plane, take a test there, rapid test, fly into Rome, take another rapid test before we go through customs and onto luggage. So there's 3 tests, including the PCR test. Before you leave, there's 3 tests involved. Now that's right now. That could change in a month. Who knows? Right. But I wanted to go through that experience because I'm starting to get a lot of inquiries of people who had trips planned and are now rebooking them and hoping to go this summer. So we'll see how it goes. So far, it's the airlines has been great. The PCR test, depending on your service, you may have to pay for it, or your insurance may cover it, but that depends on your healthcare provider.
Wow. Okay. So now give us a snapshot into when you hit the ground running there in Rome. I know all our favorite restaurants.
Right.
What's one of the first ones you're going to be running to?
Well, the first thing we're actually going to be doing is going right to work because John Hale and I are planning from Corporate Travel, are planning to do a virtual Rome pilgrimage. And you and Father Frank are going to be a part of that. We're going to ask you to do talks for us and record them on your experiences in Rome, along with a number of people who spent a great deal of time in Rome. So we have a lot of work to do. We are blessed that EWTN is going to help us with the filming. And we're going to be taping a number of different interviews with guides, including Luca and Fabio. Don't you love those names? Those are 2 of our top guides that we use in Rome. And then we're going to be doing some fun things, but giving people different experiences. We are going to be taping interviews with a gelato maker and a famous man who does a pizza making class. So we're going to do that. We're going to be interviewing live on Catholic Connection the director of the Vatican Museums, Barbara Yatta. We're going to be talking to Father Kevin, who's the head of the Vatican Patrons of the Arts, of which you and I are both members. Right. We're also going to be talking to a Swiss guard. He's going to be sharing his testimony. We're going to be going live from EWTN headquarters, from the North American College, from the Angelicum, the St. Thomas Aquinas University. We're going to be, Janet, get this. This is so amazing. We just got to confirm yesterday. We're going to be doing our live show from the room where John Paul II, back then, obviously, Father Karol Wojtyła, gave his dissertation. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
So I'm kind of thinking the whole room's a relic, right? Since he was...
Boy, oh boy.
And then we're going to Tuscany on Friday. A week from today, we'll be in Tuscany. We're going to be doing a live remote from a new resort there, which is in Tuscany, because we want to give folks a flavor of another part of Italy and share with them some of the great religious highlights in that part of the country. So a lot to do. It's a working trip. And obviously, I'll be seeing some of our friends. I'll be seeing our friend Daniele, and I'll be seeing Joan Lewis from EWTN and catching up with some fellow broadcasters from EWTN and fellow writers, Paul Batty from Ignatius Press. But most of it, we hit the ground running, and we're trying to get as much information for people as possible to share for Tease Italy, for the Rome virtual pilgrimage, and then also, of course, for Catholic Connection. So, and hopefully, who knows, for the Catholic View for Women as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, I'm very jealous because I wish I was going with you.
I'll carry you with me in my heart, JM.
All right. But I'll have to get on board for one of these future trips real soon, because I do miss going to Rome so much. I just think of all the great restaurants we go to. Like you mentioned quickly the Hotel Forum, which has that beautiful wine
The
bar
American
up the
Bar. That's
road.
one of my that's one
And
of my inside
you
places.
overlook the ruins. It's
Yeah.
amazing, you know. And then of course there's that other restaurant we love going with Joan Lewis to, which is in the
La
Piazza
Vittoria.
Navona.
Oh,
Piazza
in
Navona.
Piazza Navona, right. That is Terrazzo Baramini on the top of right next to
Yes.
St. Agnes
Yep.
Church.
And yeah, and so you're literally looking down into the piazza. It's and the sunsets from up there are stunning. The way Rome just like,
Crazy
oh my
beautiful.
goodness, you know. And then of course shopping, Teresa. We always do a good job at shopping, don't we?
You know,
And
shopping is a great experience. I have a video on the website, and I encourage people to go to the website, traveliliexpert.com. There's a ton of videos that are already there. I have great suggestions for people. You don't have to break the bank. Italy is actually very reasonable, and the restaurants are amazingly reasonable, considering everything that you get included. But what I like to do is to tell people to go to a couple of the main areas, including the Colo di Rienzo, which is a main shopping street very close to the Vatican. You can walk from by the Vatican all the way down to Piazza del Popolo, the Piazza of the People, near the Borghese Gardens. And there's all sorts of shops. You can get the high-end shops, you can get medium, and there's that wonderful food shop that we love there as well. You can get all kinds of different foodie items for the foodie in your life. Or you could, if you want something high-end, if you're dying to get, let's say, a Prada or a Gucci, you can head over to the Via Condotti, which leads up to the Spanish Steps. Or if you want another great walking area, you can go back over by the Piazza del Popolo and go up and down the Via del Corso, which is another main strip, which leads to Piazza Venezia, which is beautiful, right by the wedding cake there. So, but again, you don't have to break the bank. I mean, I've purchased so many things there that are very reasonable, well under €100, that are very nice shoes. You don't have to break the bank. Beautiful scarves and very meaningful things also, of course, from the religious bookstores and the different religious shops they have. They're very affordable, and I have all kinds of information on that as well.
well, and one of my favorite religious goods stores, as you know, is on the Borgo Pio there. And I love going to the Borgo shop.
The Borgo with Massimo.
Massimo. And there they have, as you know, again, you can buy very inexpensive rosaries, or he has the ones made of the Murano glass, Swarovski crystals, you know, so he's got from the couple euro, rosaries to the most expensive ones. And in fact, for my grandchildren, when it was my granddaughter Lilia's first communion last year, I got her rosaries. And of course, then I went to, as you know, on Sunday, you go for the Angelus at noon in
right
St.
down
Peter's
the street,
Square.
right there. Yeah.
And you bring all your religious goods and he gives the blessing. So now you go home with your things blessed by the Holy Father. And I know my granddaughter was probably the only child in her entire communion class that had rosaries blessed by the Pope. So, there's all these little things that I know are in your Teas Italy that can help people, like, not to miss these moments, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because people say, well, how do I get
you're talking about the audience. I mean, you have the audience and you have the Angelus, right? The audience, now we're not in ordinary time. So on Sunday, it will be back to being the Angelus. I always tell people, if you don't have a whole day, if you don't have more than 2 or 3 days in Rome, you may not want to do the general audience, because, as you know, JM, doing the general audience could be an all-day event. You have to get there early because it's very crowded, and you can't move until the Pope leaves because of security reasons. And he's such an outgoing Pope that he likes to meet with a lot of people. So you could be sitting there in St. Peter's Square for hours. Now that's a great experience if you have time, but if you don't, you still want to see the Pope, then come back on Sunday, literally walk into St. Peter's Square. Now he won't be as visible because he's up in the Apostolic Palace, but they have jumbotrons around St. Peter's Square. And so you still get that feeling, and you can see him and hear his message, and then he gives you that blessing before you leave. And it's very easy. You literally walk in an hour, you have everything blessed, and you had an experience of seeing the Pope. So again, these are the little things that I tell people. I remember one of the most recent consultations I did, it was cute, a lovely family. They were going to spend most of their time in Rome, and they're bringing their grandchildren, and it's going to be a big deal. And so I was suggesting where they could stay in a hotel/apartment complex that has apartments with mini kitchens and several bedrooms, a really good location by the Vatican. And then she said, yeah, we want to do mostly Rome because we're very Catholic. We want to really see Rome and maybe go to Assisi for a day. I said, okay, that's easy. We can do that. And then she said, well, we only have like 8 days, so we think we want to go up to Padua and spend some time in Padua. And I said, well, she was thinking that she could go up to Padua and come back in a day. Padua is 5 or 6 hours north, in the northern part of Italy. So getting a perspective, and it's not like here in the United States where you hop on I-75 or a main road and it's nonstop. I mean, they do have autobahns and freeways, but to get to the actual towns, it's very complicated sometimes. So it's not similar at all to the way we travel here in the United States because of the villages and the way things are set up in the countryside. So all of these things you have to consider. And if you're going to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars, including the airfare, your food, your hotel, don't you want to make sure that that money is going to be used wisely for the best spiritual and family fun experience? Because it's just too big of a trip not to spend a little bit of time with me or with someone who's an expert on Italy.
That's right. And of course, just quickly, I'm going to remind you, Teresa, of the funniest story. When we were there, we stayed extra days past one of these pilgrimages, and it was around the Feast of the Three Kings.
Oh.
And you had to go to the Borgo shop, and you had to pick up about 60 rosaries, and we had to get to St. Peter's Square because they were all going to be blessed for Deacon Dominic's confirmation class. And we're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and we're going, what's going on here? Why did they close the main streets here? What's going on? So we had to jump out of the cab and run on foot. And what do? We get to St. Peter's Square, and it's the Three Kings parade, right?
There's horses, and there's cars,
camels, and costumes. But the bottom line is we got those rosaries blessed by the Holy Father. Mission
right in the
accomplished.
nick of time. I think when we got there, it was like 5 minutes later, it was, Spiritu Santo. It was like, oh my gosh, okay, they're blessed. I'm good. Oh my goodness, it was so funny.
So tell us the website final now, Teresa.
It's travelitalyexpert.com. And you can also connect it through my main site, which is teresatomeo.com. But it's just, even if you don't have a trip for Italy planned, it's really fun because I have a ton of videos on there and you can learn all about Italy. And then we'll be sharing more information when I get back with you. We're going to have another special Just Ask Janet. I'll give you a full report. I'll report back with my reconnaissance mission on what we've learned about what it's like, because there's all kinds of new rules and regulations with COVID over there, Janet, even for touring the Vatican Museum. So I'm really interested to find out what they say.
Okay. Well, have a wonderful trip. Bon voyage. Enjoy it. Give my love to all my Italian friends over there, Daniele and Joan.
I got my passport.
I got your passport. Don't forget that. And we'll have you back then in a couple of weeks where we get the intel of what's really going on. So God bless you, Teresa, and have a great trip.
Ciao. Arrivederci.
Ciao. Arrivederci, Roma. No, arrivederci, America.
Yes.
That's right. Ciao.
Ciao.
Well, brothers and sisters, I hope that got you encouraged. Things are opening up here in America and over in Italy, and we'll have Teresa back to give us the report. So stay tuned. So remember, tune in to every evening, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 9 p.m. for this slot of Just Ask Janet. And Father again, thanks you for keeping him in your prayers. His recovery is going great, and he thanks you once again. So until next time, this is Janet Marana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. God bless.